I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the white male over 50. These can be a bit dicey at times. They might be offensive to you, especially if you're a white male over 50. Seriously, you never know what's going to happen on these. They're not really, I wouldn't say they're kid friendly. And so I don't know. Be careful when you're listening to them. Elaine, what would you like to accomplish today?
I don't have a certain agenda, just whatever is up to be discussed.
Dana, anything you got?
I heard there was going to be quite a few things on this call today, so I'm interested in listening to see what comes up.
Can anybody translate that for me?
I don't have anything in particular myself.
There you go. All right. So when there's two ladies that show up and they don't have anything, aren't they taking a big risk?
How so?
For sure.
They're leaving a whole bunch of white space for me.
Well, what a better way to do it is on a podcast. Get it all out.
Right. All right. So my first question is, I got another question. Like, are men more curious than women?
Are men more what?
Curious than women.
Maybe. Some men are.
I.e., having more podcasts, right? So that one checked. We got that. Yes, it seems clear. At least one man is. Second question: do women get a bigger dopamine hit from feeling than men do, and men get a larger dopamine hit than women by doing?
I would say probably yeah.
Okay. Why the question?
It seems to me that feelings are a lot easier to have than doing work. Like doing something
Okay.
takes hours, days, weeks, months. And so um, feelings often happen in the minute, in the moment. It's like it's a feeling. And so if I can do something, I find that it helps. If I can do something that's productive, it helps to control my feelings rather than my feelings controlling me.
Okay.
So, like feelings, I've said for a while now, feelings I think are totally, in America, they're totally backwards. It's just kind of goofy. It's weird reading the Wall Street Journal and all kinds of stories about people having anxiety. I just want to shake people and say that's part of living, folks. Like, deal with it because if you don't learn how to deal with anxiety, and your anxiety in life is just going to grow, it just will. It just will. And so if you don't have any ability, if you have to go in for therapy because your toy was broke, if you have to take medication because you know you didn't get what you wanted in third grade, if 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 you have to do that, well then you're not your brain, your emotional strength is not going to go ahead and be where it needs to be. So you're just going to need more therapy. You're just going to need more medication. You just will. So it would seem like, and when we're talking, um, it's fascinating to see, women like Elaine or Jill. When I say something about women that most women would say is derogatory, they're like, no, I can see that. And so the stereotypes, I think, as we've shared before on these podcasts, the stereotypes of men and women are often not stereotyping men and women, they're stereotyping a personality. And so,
Okay.
oh, go ahead.
I'm just agreeing with you.
And so, so the amiable and expressive, they're going to be connected into people and they're connected into feelings. So maybe if these individuals that were, that tend to be more connected into feelings, maybe if they actually did work, maybe that would help work out their feelings. I don't know. Novel thought. Subpoint 2A. Do women study men more or do men study women more?
Um, it depends on the personality, I think.
So I think that men tend to study women more.
Okay.
Point 2A1. Are there more men seeking to be women or more men seeking to be men? And I wonder why that is. So sex change, are there more men that are looking at, are there more boys or men or whatever looking to become women or more women that are looking to become men?
I think more men are tending to become women. Or if it's the other way around, I don't find out from it.
Right. I think so too. I mean, it was fascinating to me on how somebody claimed to be black and the black community didn't like that that person was claiming to be black. And it's like, so if being black is so hard, like so difficult, why would somebody want to become black? And if it's so hard, why wouldn't you want more people? And so I don't know. Like, I don't feel I can ask these questions at church for sure. I can't ask the hard questions. So on these podcasts, on Voices of Integrity, you can ask. So it says, historical data on individuals seeking gender affirming care, hormone therapy, and surgery has consistently shown that a higher prevalence of male to female transitions compared to female to male, with some studying suggestions male to female transitions are 2 to 4 times more common. So that
Do
would
they
be
think that women have it easier then? Is that why they want to become a woman?
right.
They're
I
like,
don't
oh,
know.
they got it easy. I don't have to take care of somebody else if I'm a woman.
I mean, a lot of women would say that that's not the case, rightfully so. Like, rightfully so, they would say that. So again, it's fascinating to me on how just asking a question in church or in groups of people is wrong. Like, I don't know, like a 3-year-old boy. It's like, I don't know, I have a question. So do women try to actually get hurt? I don't know, feel cheap shots. I don't know. do they actually try to get hurt to use that as leverage over men?
You mean purposely?
Uh-huh.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
But it's fascinating because in that one Friday meeting, when somebody said something about when you're angry at somebody, you're going to purposely hurt them. Well, you said that. And I'm like, what? Why would you do that? I mean, I can imagine if you're a child, that makes sense. Like if somebody hurts you as a child, you're going to hurt them back. But I was genuinely surprised. And you're like, well, yeah. And everybody else kind of looked at me like I was stupid. Not saying I'm not. I don't know. So, all right. So those are some questions. There's some more questions. Do Baptists and Amish tend to seek to get a dopamine hit from surface success that lack the knowledge, discipline, and wisdom to seek a far greater success? And if you're like, what? What did he just say? Right?
I'm wondering.
Right. Like, what is he saying? So I saw this a number of years ago, this quote, and I didn't even have to write it down because it's so true, right? I would not give a fig for simplicity this side of complexity, but I would give my life for simplicity on the other side of complexity. That is like the coolest thing in the world. And somebody who's a deep thinker is gonna resonate with us. Somebody who's not a deep thinker probably won't even think about it. And so do Baptist, Amish, I don't know, human beings seek to get a dopamine hit. So they want to feel good about something. It's almost like drug addiction. Mark, are you talking drugs? Like drugs? Maybe, right? Like alcohol and drugs. It's like you get the, or are people doing that in life? Do people do that with relationships? They just, like, I just want to get a good feeling. So they tell somebody what they want to hear.
I would say, yeah, the ones that go and help like the disaster relief team and everything like that, they do it to put on a show, or they do it to, have a name for themselves. They don't do it because they want to be partaking in like the good of something that, happened, change those people's lives. They do it because it looks good for them, if that's what you're referring to.
I don't think that we're supposed to do that.
Oh, I would agree.
No, I don't think we're supposed to say or think what you're saying or thinking.
Okay, explain that.
I think that's judging people. So
Okay,
I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not saying 100% of people do that.
right.
You're not saying 100% of people do it 100% of the time. What's funny is if you said something like that, you could always pull out the people that are doing it for that motive. And they're like, well, that's not true for 100% of people. I didn't say 100% of the people. Like, I think I know what you're saying. There are some people that do that, is some there. Often those are the people that will be offended from it. Maybe that's what, should like if the truth hurts, it was meant to. The more it hurts, the more truth there was to it. I don't know. So I think, I don't know, what I've been moving to is I've been working to say, here's an observation. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. So often when you make observations, people will immediately flip it into judgment and attack you because they don't even want the question or the observation to be had. So if we phrase it, do some people go ahead and, look good, be recognized, feel good? That's a question. It's a question. Now, people who do that, I think, will take offense for it, which goes back to the previous one is, do women, some women, most women, some men, more and more men these days, look to be hurt by somebody so they can use that as leverage against them. So that goes back into that. So I wonder, Elaine, if we go ahead and what's the difference between an observation question? And so my mom, I'd say, I'm just asking an innocent question, or my wife, I'm just asking an innocent question. They're like, for sure, it's not innocent. Well, what that reveals to me is I ask hard questions they don't want me to ask. So they're not asking the question, probably. Nobody else is asking the question. And Mark has a good reason why he asks question, because he's got social autism. So everybody in his life just say, oh, that's just Mark. He has social autism. He has a disability. No, they don't do that. They get angry, which is just interesting. So I wonder, Elaine, if we ask things in questions, but then do we need to put more morphine in and say, these questions, I'm just curious. I'm a 3-year-old boy. I'm a 3-year-old girl. I'm just curious. Is it okay to ask questions? And people will say yes, but then they punish you for asking the question. Question 3A. Are ex-Baptist, ex-Amish worse than Baptist and Amish because they think they are better from where they came from? They're more enlightened. So I was talking with my son who works in an RV factory, and there was an Amish woman there, Amish woman, I believe, that he works with, and she said she did that, which makes or maybe it was ex-Amish, I don't know. And I've never heard anybody else say that. And so it's so the ex-Baptist, let's use ex-Baptist, they're not as bad as the Baptist because they're ex. So they're better than the Baptist, and they're better than other people because obviously they're taking the best part of the Baptist. Amish could do the same thing. I'm leaving the Amish. I'm not going to join the Amish, but I'm taking the best part of the Amish and I'm taking the best part of the English. So really, I'm a lot better than the Amish and I'm a lot better than the English. Well, do they ask themselves, am I really better or am I worse than the Amish? Am I taking the bad habits of the Amish? I don't think any Amish would ever say I'm perfect. We're perfect. I don't think they'd ever say that. So they have bad parts. They have good parts. Baptists have good parts, bad part. So they think subconsciously, they're thinking, well, I'm not joining the Amish, so I'm leaving the Amish, but I'm better than the Amish are because I'm more enlightened. So I'm keeping what's good about the Amish, going over to English, taking the best of the English, best of the Amish, and now I'm a super person, better than both. And so they do that. Does this all go through their subconscious mind? I don't know. But do they think, well, maybe you're not taking the best, maybe you're taking the worst? So naturally, am I ex-Baptist-ish? No, kind of, sort of. So I asked myself, are you doing that, Mark? I don't know. But if I ask myself the question and I don't get offended, when somebody else asks the question, I'm probably not going to get offended then, and then I can be curious. So it's why don't people ask the hard questions before somebody else asks them? And then in front of people, you kind of look like a goofball that you've never thought of something because you got defensive and attacked the person that's asking the question. So it kind of.
Do they know how to ask themselves hard questions?
Right? How did you learn how to do it?
I don't know.
Well, that would be important to learn. So for me, I don't feel that my parents said or even gave the impression we couldn't ask hard questions. I don't think they necessarily asked hard questions, but it wasn't bad. And so but as I grew older, I definitely, like 19 years old, and my mom's like, Mark, I've never seen anybody on their deathbed that said they spent more time working. So I asked a question. That's interesting, Mom. Have you ever seen anybody on their deathbed said they spent enough time with their family? Well, no. So what you're saying is no matter how much time, oh, this is funny. I'm just realizing this now. So what you're saying, Mom, is you're saying that no matter how much time you spend with your family, it's never enough. You're always going to be disappointed on your deathbed. And that's not really what I was saying. So what people will say, it's funnier than all get out. People say, you're twisting my words. And then I can just smile and say, am I? Or are your words twisted? No, you're twisting my words. Really? Because if you said this, isn't this mean what you said? So people, it's so cool when you discover this. People say the darndest things. Like, people go ahead and say, they reveal their heart and their position. But it's not too obvious. It's subtle enough to where if you come back and you say, well, you said this, they'll often say, I didn't say that, even though they did. That's why podcasts are so cool, because you can go back and look and say, what was said? And they say, well, if I did say that, I didn't mean it. You're twisting. So anytime somebody says, like, I don't think I've ever told anybody in 62 years, I don't think I've ever told anybody, you're twisting what I'm saying. Ever. I don't think so. Rosanna's been around for 41 of those years. Have I ever said you're twisting what I'm saying to anybody?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Might, but I don't think so. Why not? Because I think if somebody can twist what I'm saying, maybe what I'm saying is twisted, or I'm not being very good at communicating. If somebody can twist what I'm saying. Now, often people will say, Mark, are you saying this? And I say, well, I'm not disagreeing with you what you're saying, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm agreeing with what you're saying either. And so, and then I'll give more clarity to it. And so, question 3A1, is it possible that they are actually worse, where they pick up the worst part of being Baptist Amish and the worst part of what they're doing? And so the Amish, to me, have been a lot nicer to me than the Baptists. As a general rule, they're a lot nicer. Matter of fact, I tell people, you don't really do this. No, I actually do. I tell people, like, the person I'm going to introduce you to is a Christian. They're like, okay. And if you're not a Christian, tell them you're not a Christian, because they'll be nice to you. It's true. It kind of, because they want to convert you, like, to Christianity. So if you say, yeah, I'm not a Christian, they'll be nice to you. If you tell them, that you're a Christian, and then you don't agree with something that they say, they'll be mean and nasty buggers to you. All right. So here's question 4. So we've had, I don't know, 7 or 8 questions. Like, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, do people choose their own personality and not even know it? 62 years, I've never thought of that question before. What
I
do you
don't know
mean, Mark?
about that one, but is it possible to change your kids' personality when they're younger?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with numerology. It's a little late now for you with the current kids. If you had more kids, you could do it. Numerology it's not just Jewish, but there's a lot of Jewish mysticism in it. And so numerology, you can actually go ahead and take your children's name. You can take your name, and every letter has a number, and you can then, based on the number of your first name, your last name, it gives you, I think it's Enneagram, but I could be wrong. It gives you a number, and it gives you your personality. When you think about it, it's kind of fascinating. And so when you think about the Jewish, and this isn't PV Church, but we can bring it up, like, the Jews were very, very intentional about the names they gave their children. they would give the name, and this means this. And so there's thought out there that the name you give your child will give your child a personality. And there's some level of evidence to that. With
That's
Ginger
interesting.
Ann, right? With Ginger Ann, our oldest, she was definitely analytic, still is. And so I worked to help her as a young girl not be so picky about things. And so did that work? I think she would laugh and she would say, I think it has, Dad. So she lets a lot of stuff go. I mean, she'd prefer to have it a certain way, but she can only choose, she can only, control so much, only organize so much. What I was thinking is, I wonder if the amiable, like this thought just happened in the last year. The amiable, we say that the amiable doesn't like conflict. So they don't like conflict. But I wonder if they do. Like if they're like a pyromaniac, they set fires and then they put them out, and then they come in and I think they do. It seems to me that the amiable likes conflict. And there's so much evidence for that. They create so much conflict, it's insane. But what's funny is they do it in such a way, it's almost always somebody else's fault. They're not the ones that get in trouble for the conflict. They're not the ones that are looked down on. They're not the ones that say, why did you create it? They get away scot-free. Typically the driver is going to go ahead and be blamed for it. What's fascinating is the amiable cares what people think. So they get somebody else to take the fall for them. The driver, not so much. And so it seems to me like when I think back in my grade school and junior high and high school years, I acted far more amiable. So far more. So I wasn't a troublemaker. I followed the rules. I mean, that's kind of analytic. So I'm there. I think I was amiable, and then I was very sensitive. So I was more analytic and very amiable. And then I think at age 19, when the situation happened with my fiance at the time and her dad, I think that awakened a driver inside of me that's never gone back to sleep again. That, and then I went into business and I found out in business, it seems like aggressiveness, drive, make things happen is rewarded, and others you may have to go work for somebody else. So I wonder if the amiable chooses to go ahead and be lazy in relationships. And what they do is they find out early in life, I'm just going to tell people what they want to hear, and then I don't have to work at the relationship. And they get so good at telling them what they want to hear that it becomes like second nature to them. But they're really lazy because they're not being honest with themselves. They're not being honest with other people. So I wonder if they say, I'm going to, early on, very young age maybe, they say, I'm going to learn to be honest, or but when I am honest with people, I'm going to pay a price. And you choose, I'm going to be honest, or I'm going to go ahead and not be honest. So those are the questions that I had for today. There's other questions that I had for last week. Ooh, I can't believe it. We're already past the time. Like, man, this is crazy. Final questions or thoughts, Elaine, that you have?
It's all been very intriguing.
Right. far more questions than answers, it seems.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
what triggers these questions?
well, there's what? There's over 10 questions. So do you think one thing triggered all of them? Is that what you're asking?
Well, you have them in a little document. So is it something over the period of a time period that
In
you
the
came
last
up
few
with?
days, over the weekend, in the last few days, um, like I see things, I see things, and so I can't tell you how many women have said, I want to know the truth. And it seems like when I give them the truth that they don't want it. Like there's all these conditions, like, well, you got to be smart. Well, according to who? Well, me as a woman. Okay. And then you've got to watch your tone. Okay. And then your timing. Copy that. And and then, so it's like with the analytic, they just wear you out with all kinds of little details, and they can't see the big picture. They just can't, which is fine, I guess, whatever. And yeah, and so yeah, it's throughout the week, and I'm like, well, just ask the question. So there's some type of therapeutic, there's some type of therapeutic benefit by being just able to ask the question, even if you don't have anybody who knows the answer. At least you get to ask the question. And what's fascinating is, you know, like, do the people who want to know the truth just rip it off? It's like, okay, well, listen to this podcast, and but they don't want to, which again is fine. I don't care. Listen to it. Don't listen to it. Doesn't matter to me. Like, but like you say you want this in life. You say you want this in relationships, and it's like, have you ever had that in relation? No. Okay. Are you open to maybe the reason you don't have it in a relationship? And then immediately they would flip back and they'd be like, well, have you ever had it in a relationship? And I'd probably say, no, probably not. Well, then what makes you think you're so smart? I didn't say I was smart. I'm just asking questions. Like I'm just asking questions. So I'm willing to work hard. I'm willing to go through a lot of pain, a lot of hard questions, a lot of tears, a lot of things. Like I just don't give up. Like, okay, yeah, it hasn't worked 1,000 times. Like Thomas Edison hasn't worked 1,000 times. Okay, well, maybe it'll work 1,001. Just keep going. Other questions, Rosanna?
No.
So Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Ooh, here's another thing that I realized this week, that when you're growing, especially radically, it's very hard for you and people around you.
Why?
Because if you're not growing, they map you out. They know where you're at. It's predictable. Like if you're not growing, you're predictable. You become predictable. When you're growing, you become unpredictable. They can't map you out anymore because you're growing. You're a moving target rather than one that's standing still. So what used to happen doesn't happen anymore. What doesn't happen now happens. So it's very uncomfortable for the person who's growing because it's all messy. Now I've experienced this multiple times in changing personalities myself, and so this is not the first time, but because this is a year of growth, it might be the most significant and hardest. And so it's hard. I mean, people have said, Mark, it's hard to be around you. Okay. Why is that? Because you make me feel so stupid. Sometimes I'll say, sometimes I won't. Well, actually, the truth is, you can't make anybody feel stupid. You can only reveal it. And so, or people will say it's hard to be around you. I get this a lot. So after so many times, you think, well, what would be a good thing to say? And it's like, right? Well, imagine me being me. And that's just fascinating. Like it didn't even cross their mind. They didn't even think. Because why? They're just thinking about themselves. They're totally consumed on themselves. They're not thinking like Mark has these questions for me. I bet you he has a lot more questions for himself. Like Mark's hard on me. I bet you he's far, far, far harder on himself. Mark seems unhappy with me. I bet you he's far more unhappy with himself. Not in a bad way, but so it's hard for people if you're growing. Now, if they're growing too, well, then maybe it's hard for both, or maybe both can at the end of the day, well, what did you grow in? What didn't work for you? Because when you're growing, so much doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Like most of what you're doing doesn't seem to work when you're growing. So what we do is we tend to go ahead and just stop growing because we think it's easier. So I learned that this last week. It's like, interesting. All right. So pass this along to others or don't. Don't make the decision for them, share it with others. And then have a conversation. What do you think? Always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.